Welcome back. We've now created an animation blueprint for Grux, and now we're ready to start doing some more interesting things with animations. We're going to start by creating an animation montage for when Grux gets shot and also for when Grux dies. So let's go ahead and go back into the enemies folder, and let's create a new folder here called animations. And in the animations folder, we're going to create a new animation montage. So right click, go to animation and select animation montage. Now we're going to select the Grux skeleton for this. Now this is going to be called enemy hit. Now let's open enemy hit. And now we can start dragging in some animations to create some montage sections here. So in the asset browser, let's take a look at what we've got here. I'm going to type hit, and we'll see that we have 4 hit react animations: back, front, left, and right. Now you can double click these to see them in the animation editor, or simply hover over them to get a little thumbnail animation to show you a preview of what they look like. Go ahead and drag in back into the montage to get the hit react back animation. Let's do the same for the front, for the left, and for the right. So now we have 4 animations here. And finally, I'm going to type in death, and I'm going to hover over death A. You can see that it's a death animation where Grux gets blown back. And then death B, which is an animation where Grux falls on his face. Let's go ahead and add both of these. Now I'd like to use these death animations here in this montage. But if you drag death A in, you'll get a message that says, make sure the target animation is valid. Check to make sure if it's same additive type if additive, which means that the additive type for these death animations is different than the additive type for the hit reacts. So let's go ahead and look at the death animations and see what their additive type is. So you can see that in the asset details here under additive settings. You'll see that additive anim type is set to no additive, which means it's not an additive animation. Whereas if we go to our hit react animations, let's take a look at hit react back, for example. Its additive anim type is local space, and the base pose type is selected animation frame. So this is an additive animation. Let's go back to the death animations. Now we can take our death animation and change it to local space. So now death A is an additive animation, and if we set the base pose type to selected animation frame, then we need to set a base pose here. Let's go back and look at hit react. And we'll see that hit react uses the idle animation for the base pose. We can do the same thing for the death animation. So let's set that to idle here in the death A animation. Now there are multiple idle animations. We need to make sure we select the one in the Grux animations folder. So we'll go ahead and select that and save. Let's do the same for the death B animation. We're going to set additive anim type to local space and base pose type to selected animation frame. And for the base pose, let's type idle, and we'll search for the correct idle animation here. Here it is, the one in Grux/animations. Go ahead and hit save, and now we have our death A and death B animations, and they're both additive. Let's go back into enemy hit, our montage, and in the asset browser, we'll drag in death A and death B, and now we'll see that we're able to drag them in. Now that we have a montage, we need to set some montage sections here. So let's go ahead and right click and create a new montage section. Let's call this one hit react back. Now we have a hit react back. Now I'm going to right click on the gray bar up above and drag to the right so that we can see the left side of this montage. And I'm going to drag the hit react back section over to the beginning, and I'm going to click to get the default section. You might have to click a couple times and bring that out. Now I'm going to right click and delete that montage section. Now we have the Hit React Back section for the Hit React Back animation. We need to add montage sections for each of these animations. So right click between Hit React Back and Hit React Front, right here next to the green ribbons for the animations. Click New Montage Section and call this one Hit React Front. And make sure this montage section is right in between the two animations. You can hold Control and scroll up with your mouse wheel just to make sure that it's right there at the right position. Now we need a montage section for Hit React Left. So right click, New Montage Section, and let's call this Hit React Left. Now Control and mouse wheel in, and you'll see that it's not quite at the beginning of the animation, so you can click and drag to get it at the right spot. Now for Hit React Right. New Montage Section, Hit React Right. And holding Control and scrolling in, I can move that in to the right spot. Now for Death A, so I'm going to right click, New Montage Section, and call this Death A without an underscore, and I'll zoom in and make sure it's at the right spot there. And finally, I'm going to add a section for Death B. So New Montage Section, Death B, zoom in and stick it at the right spot. And now each of our animations has its own montage section. Now we also want this montage assigned to a slot. So we're going to create a new slot for this montage. Down at the bottom right, click on Anim Slot, and we're going to click Add Slot. For this, we're going to call this slot Hit Slot. And under Montage in the Enemy Hit tab, we're going to click the drop down that says Slot, and for slot name, we're going to select Hit Slot. And now this montage is using the hit slot. Let's go ahead and save this montage. Now we need to use this montage in our animation pose. So let's go to the blueprint. We can click blueprint up here at the top right, and we'll go out into the anim graph. And in between locomotion and output pose, we're going to use a slot node. So type slot, get that slot node and hook it up. And we're going to select the slot node. And for the slot name, we're going to select Hit Slot, and now our output pose is using the hit slot. Let's compile and save that. So now our animation montage is set up, and our animation blueprint is set to use that slot that our montage is using. So now whenever we play a montage section, we should be able to see that animation played on the Grux character. We'll start playing some animations in the next video. I'll see you then.